Hey, listen up. Everyone Loves Guitar listeners can now get 20% off all merchandise at guitarmerch.com. Just enter the discount code VIDEO in your shopping cart and enjoy. Get your Everyone Loves Guitar t-shirts, hoodies, and mugs, as well as other cool music and guitar t-shirts. Just enter VIDEO as your discount code for 20% off at guitarmerch.com.
Hey, everybody. This is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar. Got an awesome blues guitar player, artist with us today. Cool guy, great songwriter with Willie J Laws Jr. Give you a background real quick on, and I want to thank JD Seam for hooking us up. Thank you, JD. Originally from Texas, currently living in Massachusetts, Willie Laws plays Texas soul music mixed with classic R&B, country, blues, and funk. This guy's like an old school, blues funk guy. You listen to his music, is awesome. Willie's performed nationally and internationally in Russia, throughout Europe, and all over Europe and a lot of other places. He won the Massachusetts Blues Society Challenge, was semi-finalist at the International Blues Competition and Beale Street Kings Awards in Memphis. He's got some amazing life stories, and hopefully he'll be kind enough to share a few of them with us today. Willie, thank you so much for your time, man. I appreciate you coming on the show. It's nice to connect with you. I'm good, man. Now that we're hanging. All right. So I read you grew up in Taft, Texas, and I looked, I looked it up, and in 2010, what's that?
Found it on the map, did you?
I believe it or not, 'cause in 2010 the population was 3,000, which means, and I grew up in the projects in the Bronx. That was the population of my building. Which means it was incredibly small when you were a kid. What was it like growing up there, man?
Man, I gotta tell you, that when I was growing up there were, believe it or not, there were more people living there. There in, I'm telling my age now, the late 60s and early 70s. The population there was about 6,000.
What happened?
People, well, just, kids growing up, my generation grew up and they moved away because there's nothing there to, to keep a lot of us there.
Sure.
And so a lot of kids moved to like Houston, San Antonio, Dallas, and some of us moved further away. A lot of us, few of us joined the military. A few of us, worked the government work and stuff like that. So, just jobs and life just, kept us away and, forced us to move away.
Yeah.
That was pretty much like our parents' generation and their town. And, they were the ones that, had the families and had the jobs and that kind of stuff. So really there was really like nothing there. It was mostly like farmland, agriculture, that kind of stuff, country. But, growing up there, it was South Texas, and that gave me, access to all these different genres of like American music or like roots music.
Yeah.
The Mexican music, conjunto music, which later turned into Tex-Mex. And also like the Cajun music, Zydeco, country, blues, as well as blues, R&B, and bands. Man, when I was a kid, it seemed like almost everybody had a band, Somebody had a band. Somebody was playing some instruments somewhere.
Right.
So
now everybody's got a YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. We're learning on YouTube now. Figure it out.
Yeah, right. Hey, in doing research, I came across a pretty good story about how your maternal grandfather owned a beer joint in Kingsville, which was about an hour south of where you grew up. Mm-hmm. And how hanging out at that beer joint as a kid was your first real exposure to music. I'd love to have you share that story if you can.
Yeah, it was a place. It was. He had it briefly. It was called LB's Place, and it was just a beer joint where he didn't have a liquor license at the time, but he sold beer and what was called setups. So you could.
What was
You
that?
never heard of that, huh?
A setup?
Setups.
No, what is that?
That's a beer joint thing. With setups is called mixers. Like you could bring whatever liquor you're drinking, gin, vodka, whatever, and he could sell mixers like 7-Ups and tonic waters and things like that, and he could mix them for you.
Okay, this way he can bring the people in there to hang out and catch a buzz and socialize.
Yeah, and that was a law too, a Texas law, and still is now, where you could have a beer joint and you could sell beer and like maybe wine, but now liquor license is a whole different thing.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's wild.
But he had a jukebox. He had a jukebox there, and a little small stage. And sometimes my uncle and his band, or the band that he played in, they would rehearse there a couple of times, or they would rehearse at my grandmother's house, or somebody else's in the band's mom's house. But between that jukebox and them, that was like my first real exposure. And then my oldest sister's first husband, he played the guitar. And I was about maybe like 7 years old. And it was a silver tone. Mm-hmm. And actually my niece has that guitar.
Does she?
She has that silver tone, man. She sure does.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Dude, this was like, God, 1969 maybe?
Wow.
70, somewhere's off in there.
That was the ones, they look like a Les Paul with the hollow body, though? Yeah, those are great guitars.
Yeah.
There's no truss rod in there or something like that? Yeah.
No.
Yeah, those are good guitars. When you get them, they're either really good or really bad, actually. Yeah, once you find an old one.
Crazy. But yeah, those two, my Uncle Don and my first brother-in-law, Charles, like my first kind of like real, like, wow, man, I want to do that. I'm checking that out,
Right.
Yeah.
Also, man, if you could tell the story, this was wild, how your grandfather got to Texas in the first place. That was crazy, man.
Well, yeah, I could tell the story now because they're dead and gone, so it doesn't matter. My grandfather was born in Louisiana, around like 1910, 1911, somewhere off in there, and my great grandfather had already went to Texas.
Okay.
And anyway, my grandfather, as he was growing up, people, some old people there, white guys started messing with my great grandmother, my grandfather's mom.
His mom, yeah.
Yeah, and I guess he shot one of them, and had to take off for Texas, and change his name there for a little bit.
Wow.
But after a while, he changed his name back to his real name. He went to kind of stay with my great grandfather. Who I just recently found out too about my great grandfather was a World War I veteran.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I was just going through stuff. Just that trip. There was a trip through Texas. Through going home and finding things out. And I thought, wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool, especially you being in the service, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
Yeah,
but yeah, that's nice.
That's how my grandfather, my mom's dad, he got to Texas, and he was a character, man. He was a character, dude.
Well, he had to be pretty ballsy to change his name back.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I knew it was done. I guess whatever was a done deal.
Yeah.
Because my great grandmother, she died when I was like a baby, or I was like 2-3 years old, so I don't even remember.
Yeah. Right.
So I guess whatever had happened at that time, whoever was involved were dead and gone.
Yeah.
So it really didn't matter.
That's crazy, man.
And plus nobody could prove shit,
Well, yeah. Still, it's scary stuff.
How you gonna prove it?
Right, of course.
So he's like, yeah. So his man, dude, crazy name too, man. His name was Leopoli, Leopol. Let's see, Leopoli, Leopoli. Leopoli.
That was your
Hundley, Hundley, Brightman, Brightmon, like Brightmon instead of Brightmon. But sometimes he would just switch the O to an A and spell Brightmon.
He sounds like he's from Europe or something like that. That name.
Dude, anybody with skin color like mine and black you see, is chances are we probably got some European in it.
Yeah.
I already know I have like English and Irish in me. My third great grandfather on my dad's side, he was actually a Caucasian.
From England or Ireland. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Well, with origins from England, but he was from the South with origins from Virginia and Alabama. And those were his origins.
Interesting, man. Both of your parents, again, from reading about you and reading your interviews, seem to be pretty amazing people. And the story about your mom in particular was very moving. How she started out basically as a domestic worker helping a family out. Then she worked at a nursing home. And by the time she retired, she was the assistant administrator of that facility. Again, back in rural Texas as a black woman, I don't think that was an easy journey for her. I would love to hear like your thoughts or any parts of that. How did that impact you? And, how did that, what was your perception of her strength and courage as you were a kid?
You know what, Craig, man, where I grew up in South Texas and the people that I grew up around, it really was like a village. Everyone was very supportive of each other and diverse too, man. Like, Texas, man, it can be it was back then, can be, and at times, and in certain pockets still is, a very, very racist state. But when I was growing up, people like my parents' age, that includes the white people, the Mexican people, and the black people, because that's pretty much was the demographic of where I grew up at that time, and it felt like they shielded us from a lot of stuff that was going on in the outside world. And you could talk to like friends my age that I grew up with and went to school with, all of them, white, black, brown, whatever. They'll tell you that we all say the same thing. Like it was was crazy, man. For that growing up in that part of Texas, we were shielded. So I guess everybody had this tolerance for each other. So it was easy, for my mom, man. My mom was really smart anyway. So,
Right.
It was easy for her to advance, her station in life, to so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So your personal work ethic came from both your parents then?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's great. 'Cause I know you talk favorably about them both.
I'm a little bit more lazy nowadays.
Well, he earned it a little bit, So when you were younger, your great aunt on your mom's side bought you a guitar when you were 8 years old. But once you got to junior high school, you stopped playing because you started playing football, and you didn't pick up the guitar after that till you were in the Navy. What prompted you to join the Navy? And then if you could share the story about how you wound up playing guitar again while you were in the service, I thought that was a very nice story.
Well, I can tell you what, the first reason, really, I think why I stopped, there were two reasons, and not just football, but it also goes back to right before I got into junior high. In the 6th grade, I started taking band, and I started in drums. I started playing the drums, and one day in the band class, the classmate and I were sitting in the drum class. We're sitting next to each other, and we're both chewing gum. And the band teacher comes over to us and holds out a piece of paper and says, spit your gum out. So I put my gum out, and my friend Ricky, he put his gum out, and he took the paper and he put it in my hair. And that's what put that. We were talking earlier about, that put some hate in me, man. That really didn't go away for a long time. And sometimes I still deal with, but it should have, made me hate music. Because it was in a music class.
Right.
And it should have made me hate music. And for that minute it didn't, because I could switch and go play football. There were so many activities going on. So it's okay. You're a kid growing up, you're resilient as a kid. You're very resilient.
Sure.
And you just kind of go on. That was all that my mom could do to keep my dad from putting his foot in his.
I can't imagine.
Man,
someone did that to my
the whole
kids.
fucking neighborhood had to cool my daddy down, man. So.
Well, come on, that's like a predatory behavior, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, dude. So anyway, but it didn't, and then, but like you said, my great aunt Janelle, she gave me my first guitar when I was about 7 or 8 years old. Anyway. So it was kind of always there. But, junior high school, growing up, activities, all that, it kind of just stayed on the wayside. And I was in the Navy about maybe a couple of years before I got out of the Navy. A friend of mine was coming back home because we were stationed overseas. And he was coming back home. And he had an Ovation, one of those. Remember the Ovations with the
back? Yeah.
Back. He had one of those, man. He said, "Dude, I don't want to carry this." He just left it. So I said, "Well, shit, I'll take it." He left it in the shop. So out at sea, man, I just started picking it up again. Started messing around on it again. And I started to develop my love for it again.
That's nice, man. That's
Pretty much,
How do you look at stuff like that? Do you look at like the events? It always amazes me how things happen in your life. Like if you would have made a left turn going down the other side of the ship instead of making a right turn to go talk to your buddy, that we may not be having this conversation.
Possibly.
I mean, how do you look at stuff like that? Do you look at that as like good luck, higher power stuff, or like, how do you view events like that in your life? Because I don't know how to view them.
Now at the age that I'm at,
how do you look at them today?
All those things, some people can call it divine intervention. Some people can call it, shit is already written, bro.
Right. I'm just curious. Yeah.
Somewhere it's already written. How long we supposed to be here, what we supposed to be doing, where we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And we just don't know it yet.
Right. So from your perspective, you're just executing.
In my opinion, yeah.
Yeah. You're executing what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Through just my observance and living life and being, man, I've been like places like a lot of artists. Like, man, how'd you get over there? You need a manager. You need a booking agent. I've never had a booking agent. I've never had a manager. I've just, been in places at the right time, I guess.
Yeah.
Knowing people.
Right.
People saw me and said, hey, how'd you like to do that? Yeah, sure.
Right.
And one thing would lead to another. Nothing like super big time or like, all the big lights and fancy, no big time, nobody behind me, nobody pushing me but me.
Right.
So
it's always interesting to hear different perspectives on that. What made you join the service, join the Navy?
Military family, man.
Yeah.
Military family, man. I had, probably, who knows, Civil Wars, maybe a little bit more. Who knows? But, I mean, I grew up in between, right in between 3 naval air stations. There's like NES Corpus Christi, NES Kingsville, and then there was NES Chaseville, which is in Beale, Texas, which is no longer there. It's a prison complex now. But the other 2 naval air stations are still there. And when I was a kid, I'd see those planes all the time. Plus, my uncles were in the Navy. My other uncle, my dad and his twin brother, they were both in the Army. They were both in Korea. Both Korean War vets. My Uncle Thomas was in the Navy. Uncle Ernest was in the Navy. Shit. I could, if I could close my eyes and think about it, there's bunches of them.
Big military family.
So it was just, like, it was just a natural thing for me to do, kind of like in my DNA, I guess,
Sure, that makes total sense. And then you were not looking to pursue music as a profession until you ran into blues guitarist Philip Walker in 1986, who you then wound up touring with. I'd love to hear you tell that story about that kind of random encounter with him and how that changed your life. That was fun to read about that.
Oh, wow. Man. Philip. What a guy. He was it 1986. And it was in Corpus Christi, Texas. there was a place called Cooper's Alley. It was just downtown in Corpus, and they had, and back then they had, all of the national blues acts of the day at that time, which would have been like, I think Anson Funderburg man was out, and Ron Earl popping, Room Full popping, all those guys from back then, they just Thunderbirds, everybody. So they would play at Cooper's Alley, and I was in the place one night. I just came from a reserve meeting, so I still had my uniform on. So I was in there, I was done, and I was in there having a drink. And there was a gentleman that lived in the town by the name of Floyd. Floyd Miller, I believe his last name was at the time. Man, anyway, he was a drummer, and he was back in the day, and he knew Philip from back in the day, back in the 50s and whatever. And so Floyd told Philip, he pointed at me and he said, "Hey, that young man over there in that sailor suit over there, he's a guitar player." So Philip, he has his hat on, and he has this like a vest, look like a kind of Western gunslinger look, right? And he comes walking over to me. He has his glasses on, and he's like walking over to me. He says, "Floyd over there tells me you're a guitar player." Just like this gunslinger thing, right? I'm like, well, I said, "Yes, sir, I'm trying." He says, "Well, you take my guitar and you take my band, and you go over there and you play you a couple of songs."
Just like that?
Just like that, dude.
Were you intimidated to do that? Because you'd never played before.
No.
You weren't? Okay. So again, it was a natural...
Yeah.
It was like what you're supposed to be doing.
I should have been scared as hell. But I wasn't. I wasn't afraid at all. And I remember I did Manish Boy and a Freddie King tune that he did off of Federal Records back in the day called "I Got a Woman." Well, I got a woman.
I love him.
I gotta see her every day. That one.
I love that guy. He's my favorite of the Three Kings. What a monster. Yeah. What a monster tone.
Yeah.
Just fierce. I mean, yeah.
I did those two. And I knew from it was like from that point on, that's what I'm doing.
That quick. You just felt that good playing guitar for people. To my great delight and my great detriment at times. Yeah, I feel you, man. And so you went up there and played, and then he just said, "Hey, do you want to come tour with me?" And you became his rhythm guitar player?
It took a couple of years before that happened. He said, "Hey, man," he just goes, "Once you tighten it up, come out to California." I guess he meant, once I kind of build up my confidence more as a player and a singer, because I used to tune down to E flat, because I started out singing like really flat, like a flat singer, because I was really trying to focus more on my playing.
Sure.
And then trying to do both at the same time, like focus on your playing and your singing. You know,
It's
you
hard.
really don't have a lot of experience in either department.
Yeah.
You're teaching yourself, you know, and pretty much from listening, a lot from just listening to all the records and stuff. And whoever would come through town, if I could catch them, you know, I would catch them.
What guitar what guitar did you play? If you remember.
ES 330.
Okay.
He had that 330, man. And I say it, man, if I ever in this lifetime have an opportunity to own one and to get one, that's what I'm going to do. And now that's what I play.
The green one.
That green one, that's 330.
It's a great looking guitar.
I love that guitar. But I still play my Strat sometimes. I have a 82 F series that I play. I've had for over 30 years, I guess, that one. And then I have a 62 reissue Telly that I play. And it just got worked on, so I've been kind of playing that. I played that the other night when I did a show with Christine Ullman and James Montgomery.
I had Christine on the show here a long time. She's a pistol, man.
Yeah.
She's a firecracker.
I love her, man.
She's great.
Awesome.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah, both of them.
To tell you the way it is.
Oh, for sure. man, she knows that music, bro.
Yeah.
She knows music, man.
Yeah.
She's like a walking music library.
Yeah, she really is.
You know?
She really is. And she loves the blues,
Yeah,
man.
great.
She's really... The 330, what's the difference between a 330 and a 335? Is it 330 hollow or is it 330 with a baritone?
Man, the 330 has more of it's a hollow.
Okay.
It's just a little bit small, like a bit smaller in scale. Just
Okay.
in those two P90s right there, just
Oh, that's what it is. You got the P90s instead of
P90s,
the humbuckers.
man.
Okay.
and you know, they're like monsters. You just got to know how to control them.
Oh, they're amazing pickups. P90s. I love them. Okay, so you moved out, you tightened it up, and you moved out to California. You moved to San Diego. And
Moved to California.
things took off for you professionally, but you had some dark days personally. To whatever extent you're comfortable, can you talk about what was going on out there, both music and personal?
Well, back in those days, man, it was the late 80s. Like, this is like 89. That crack shit was out there everywhere, bro.
Yeah.
Man, it was everywhere. It was, and I was just trying to escape it, man. You know,
Yeah.
I had my oldest daughter now. She was born in '88, and where I was living at, man, there was nothing, no jobs, no nothing. I'm like working in kitchens and stuff like that. You can't get ahead like that.
No.
And I had a lot of, friends and family, man, off in the business and stuff. And I didn't want to really get off in the business. So I said, well, you know what? I'm gonna head out to California. My oldest sister lived out there. She squared away, straight up. It's a safe place.
Yeah. So good for you, man.
Yeah, I thought it's a safe place. I'm going out to California. It's a safe place. Little did I know.
Maybe,
I'm like, damn,
not so
I gotta
much.
fight this shit out here too. Oh shit, But I knew that. It seemed like a better opportunity to play music.
Mm-hmm.
And when I moved out there, dude, I had like rucksack with my, couple of pair of jeans, boots, couple of shirts, and my guitar. That's pretty much it.
Which guitar did you go out there with?
I had a Japanese. It was a 1982 Japanese Strat. It had a maple neck, kind of metallic blue color. That was the guitar I was playing, man. I love that guitar.
Those Japanese Strats are phenomenal.
Dude, that's the only guitar I've ever pawned in my whole life, and ever, the only one ever.
Yeah.
And I still kick myself in the ass to this day for doing it.
Yeah.
But when you gotta eat, you gotta eat.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Absolutely.
So I had that one. I went out there, San Diego. Borrowed my niece. I found a blues jam. I looked in back then. They had newspapers back then that called The Reader. You had to, every town, almost everywhere you went had The Reader. It had everything that was going on, what bands playing, what's happening. So I pick up the San Diego Reader and check out blues jams on Sundays or whatever. Find a blues jam at this place called Winston's and Ocean Beach. Go down there, sign up for the blues jam, did my little thing, crawled on the floor and did all the little guitar trickery, hickory dickory. Turned on the crowd and hell, man, put a band together that day.
Did you?
Yeah. Put a band together that day, man. Within 3-4 months, man, we were working 5-6 nights a week.
That's great.
Yep. And it just kept going from there, Craig. But I've always been like this artist I've always had like these residencies. Pretty much since the beginning of my career. Like in San Diego, I used to play at this place called Blind Melons. And I would play there every Monday night. I held that down for 5 years. And I could take off and do like these little mini tours and stuff. But I could always come back. That's my residency. That's home. Boom.
Right.
I had that in San Diego. So it was like, if it was almost like people, tourists and whatnot, hotel concierges. Hey, where do we go? Oh, go to Blind Melons. What's to do on a Monday night? Oh, go to Blind Melons. There's this guy, Willie J, down there. So I've always kind of like had that. When I moved from San Diego, when I finally decided to leave California and I moved to New Orleans, I was in New Orleans for like almost 5 years. Almost kind of like the same thing. I had these little residency things, like Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville.
Yeah.
I played there every Friday, Saturday, Sunday afternoon. Before me, no, let me see. Oh, yeah. Before me, it would be Coco Robichaud, and then me. And then after me would be Eddie Bo. And we'd sometimes play with each other, sometimes, And then the House of Blues, I worked at the House of Blues.
Again in New Orleans?
In New Orleans. That's where I started working with the House of Blues in New Orleans.
And you were part of the house band there, weren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There, and then more so the house band in Las Vegas, because when they opened the House of Blues in Vegas, I was part of the opening team.
That must have been a good gig.
That was a great gig.
Yeah,
it was an awesome gig. The first two musicians to play in that building downstairs on the main stage was Bob Dylan.
Wow.
Upstairs on the main stage was Willie J Laws band.
That's pretty cool.
Dude, we're up there jamming, Craig. We're up there playing. I'm looking around, man. Cesar Rosas from Los Lobos is back there. Mick Fleetwood, Chaka Khan's walking around. Everybody, dude, just like this star-studded event. It was so cool. And everybody, hey, man, love what you're doing, bro. Thank you. I almost didn't have any oxygen that night. We played so hard. We just kept playing, and by the time I couldn't breathe, I was like, I couldn't get any oxygen. It was weird. It was the first and only time that's ever happened to me.
Was that from just being so excited, or?
Excited and playing and it wasn't really like who I was playing for. I knew who was there. I was just playing, man. Just from playing, it was just like this. I don't know. I can't explain it. It was really, really crazy, Craig, just to, experience. I haven't experienced anything like that since. Come close, but I've always had oxygen.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So it was a special night.
It was. And we played there for, let's see, Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. Almost 4 years, I guess.
Well, that's a hell of a run.
A good run.
Yeah.
Really good run. And so that's why I never really had to go on the road. And if I ever had done anything, it was always in Europe. I was always going over there, or sometimes doing like MWR stuff, like military welfare recreation stuff. It's not USO, but it's separate from USO stuff. Doing stuff like that as far as like traveling outside of the country to play music. But that's pretty much those residencies.
How was Vegas? Did you enjoy Vegas? How was living in Vegas? Talk about debauchery, man. That's like, they don't call it Sin City for nothing.
Oh, boy. Oh, man.
Enjoyed it too much.
You need a strong, strong constitution to live in Las Vegas, man. Vegas, some people say that Vegas is where good entertainers go to die. Which is like, you can go through the graveyards and you can kind of read the evidence of that. It's like, oh man, I didn't know he was buried there. Oh, she's here. Vegas is cool and it's not cool, and it's all about how you handle Vegas.
Oh.
I was there at a time when we were looking pretty good. Our federal budget was balanced. We had a nice little, we were in the black, back then. It was in late 90s, 2000, during that time.
Yeah.
Was when I was there. So everybody, we were looking good, man. It was party,
Yeah. So you had a good time there.
5 years. I think it's about as much as a body could stand, especially if you're younger, if you're in your 30s and in your 40s, you're still young, and where I was in a spot where playing at the Mandalay Bay at the House of Blues as one of their featured acts. So whenever you drove in the taxi and you looked up on those billboards, you saw a picture of me.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
on the strip.
Yeah, man, that's really cool, actually. Yeah.
You know, it's like, why do I need to go on the road?
Yeah, I totally get that.
The road is coming to me, man.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I really felt like at the time. There's no need for me to even try to like be hustling, you know, promoters. Actually, I did try one time, more than once, but this is just one of the times I tried with an agency that used to be called the Rosebud Agency at the time. Was that was it Mike Kappas, I believe? I can't remember now. It was so long ago. I said, hey, man, you know, just, you know, maybe talk to you about, you know, possibly, you know, getting on your roster. What can we do? And he goes, well, we prefer that you be working 200 days a year or some shit. You know, I'm like,
you're already working 150 nights a year with this residency.
I'm like, partner, why do I need you?
Yeah, right.
What do I need you for? Crazy, man. You know, it's just a slap. It's just these things that African American artists in that time went through during that time. No love in the 90s, man.
Was it like that all over the country?
The blues, like younger guys like me, because I was younger back then, you know, doing my best, man, to carry that tradition on and play the blues.
Yeah.
Not getting no love, man. No love, no promoters, no. And it's kind of still like that. It's, you know, I mean, you can look. Things are changing now. You got, you know, kids like Chris Tone, Jontavius Willis and them, you know, Marquise Knox, you know, these kids, man, coming out, some young kids now that's, you know, getting that recognition. But I'm like that generation of the ones that were picking it up from guys like Philip Walker and Lefty Diz, Hubert Sumlin, you know, Big Daddy Kinsey, you know,
I used to have that.
Guys
I used to
like
play that record all the time.
Like Luther Allison and those guys like that, right?
Yeah.
That generation. I'm that generation like that picked it up from them. I'm like part of the Kenny Neal generation,
right.
Lucky Peterson generation. That, you know, and Kenny and them, you know, were like that small percentage of the African American blues players of that time that were playing. You know, there was the guys out there like myself and other guys that were playing, but just not getting that recognition and that leg up at the time. And so, you know, it's good to see that like I say, man, like the young kids now, man, are getting it, you know.
Yeah.
And finally, man, you know, and I hope it remains. But I have to relate a story though that one of the young kids said he was at a festival one time playing, and he said this old white lady asked him, or actually told him, well, we've taken the blues and put it on a silver platter and handed it back to you.
Well, just to let you know, she wasn't speaking for all white people.
Of course not.
She said, we have collected.
We've.
Yeah, that makes you not feel really good if someone says something like that.
No.
Throwing you a bone.
Yeah, you know, but yes, I mean, when he related that story, and I was just like, wow, man. Well, you know, shit, I have a truckload of stories, but usually I don't share them or repeat them. Some things I just kind of prefer to forget.
Yeah, I can't blame you.
Just no, it doesn't really do me any good to think about them anyway. Because as James Baldwin once said, to be a black man in America is to be in a rage every day. So,
where did you get it? Where did that kind of, where does most of those experiences for you come from? Like, what part of the country or was it just all over?
No, well, most of it really. I mean, I come from the set of African Americans that were the last people to set free, was the Texas slaves. I'm far back as I know, maybe more, 6 generations at least. My family in Texas, family in America. Before that, probably maybe 8, 9. I don't know, somewhere, if not more.
Yeah.
But at least in Texas, on my dad's side, my grandmother, my dad's mom, her side, 1825, I think, my third great grandfather was like 5 years old. They brought him to Texas, and Texas was still Mexico at the time. So, my people was the last ones that set free. That's why they celebrate like Juneteenth, June 19th, 1865. My people started that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, man. That's why that whole Juneteenth thing goes on right now that a lot of people don't know about.
Yeah.
That's a Texas thing, man. That started in Texas, baby.
I didn't know that, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you're right. Old Major General Granger sailed into Galveston Harbor on June 19th, 1865, read the Emancipation Proclamation. Now, if anybody knows anything about proclamations are not law. There is nothing about a proclamation that is a law. So really, were the slaves really set free?
Yeah.
As a proclamation.
Right. It's just a statement.
Right?
Yeah. I had Kenny on here. He's a really lovely guy. I don't know if you've worked with him or.
Who's that?
Kenny Neal. I had him on here.
Oh, Kenny, man.
He's a lovely guy, man. He's
I've
awesome.
known Kenny since 1991. First time I met Kenny, he was with it was him, Lucky Peterson, this girl named, oh man, bless her heart, she's gone now. Valerie Wellington, Tony Coleman. It was in San Diego at a place was called, of all places, it was called the Bacchanal.
That's a pretty funny name of a place, man. The Bacchanal. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So I've known Kenny since then.
Yeah.
1991, I believe, 92.
He's a lovely guy. He's a really sweet guy.
Man. One of my favorite people. Yeah, great.
I want to talk about the new album, Too Much Blues, but I want to talk about an album you released back in 2018 called Black Maria. It's my favorite record of yours. It's a killer record. There's some great stuff on there.
Thank you.
I want to ask you about a few. That's an awesome record, man. The title song, Black Maria, basically tells the story about what a Black Maria is. So if you could talk about that and what prompted you to write a song about it.
Well, basically it came from a story that the old guys used to tell, the old black guys and the old Mexican guys used to tell this story about police paddy wagon that the cops will come and sometimes come and start pounding on them and stuff and throw them in the Black Maria, just because
they could. Yeah.
Well, and then there were there were these those sundown laws and stuff like that. There were sundown towns back then where if you were black or brown, when the sun went down, you better not be around. That was serious business, man. And it's so unfortunate now that there's this there's this small group of powerful, fearful people that want to erase that history and that knowledge. And the thing of it is all it's doing is keeping one subset of group of people really pissed off about it, and this other group of people that are going to be protected from all of this bullshit, and they're going to have this hate and vitriol thrown at them, and they won't even know why, because some other people have tried to erase some other people's history.
Yeah,
that's pretty much what's going to happen. So that whole Black Maria thing, that's all it all relates to that kind of stuff. And and then the part about son, we found a body, what'd you do with the head? It's kind of saying we're blaming you for some shit you didn't do.
Right. Right.
And it just kind of goes from there. And it that's really what that song is about.
And that's what a Black Maria was. It was these paddy wagons.
Black Maria was just the police paddy wagon.
I couldn't believe that because I read up about that.
Which is actually the first actual police paddy wagon was built and manufactured here in Boston, Massachusetts, right up the road from where I live.
Interesting, man.
In the early 1800s, or the early 1800s. So it looked like those horse-drawn prison wagons, that. That's the original, and it was actually called the Black Maria.
Yeah.
But when it got down, down south, they called it the Maria.
Crazy, man. You got another track on that record, Smuggler. That is an awesome song. It's so cool. It's a long song, and it kind of tricks you because it opens with a Zydeco opening with the accordion, but it stretches out into a very cool, funky blues. And I was curious what the backstory to that song was. And you're speaking Spanish in there, if I remember correctly, right? Mm-hmm. Your Spanish is pretty good, man. Is that from growing up down there?
Gracias, señor.
Yeah. Sí. De nada.
Para Texas, man.
From Texas,
Puro tafiro.
There you go. Tell me about that song, man. What's the backstory to that?
Oh, well,
great song.
It is. It's from growing up in South Texas. A friend of mine, who actually wrote the lyrics to that. I can't call his name now because he's a state representative. He used to be a criminal defense attorney.
Wow.
And still is, but he's a state representative now. And anyway, he wrote that song, and he wrote that song about growing up down there in South Texas, man. Not far from the border, right across the border, and people that we knew and people that we didn't know, and that life. That kind of life, that smuggler's life,
It's a great track, man.
Yeah.
And great groove in there, man.
Yeah. When the first time I recorded it, we were the rough track was in McAllen, Texas. which is like a stone's throw from Mexico.
Okay.
You can go in 10, 15 minutes, baby. You can be right across the border from McAllen. And I have some really good friends and family down there. And we were just hanging out one night and at a friend's studio down there. And my buddy comes in. He says, Willie J, I got this song. You gotta play it. You gotta play it. You got to sing it. I ain't got no music. I just got the words. I got to put it on music. I was like, okay. So I started, and so we started kind of doing the little groove or whatever. And I'm not gonna say what he was on, but we was all on something. He was all dancing around. I said, hold on, man. I think I got something. So I just took a click, and I just did a click like that, and I just started I tuned down to D, to like a drop D. Right. And just
just came out.
I thought about kind of like almost like Treetop Flyer.
What's that?
I thought about that song, Treetop Flyer.
I don't know that.
Stephen Stills.
I don't know that track. I'm a Stephen Stills fan, but I don't know that track.
Flyer. Is it Treetop Flyer, Stephen Stills? I do believe. I think so. You know what I'm talking about, Craig?
No, I don't know that song. I love Stephen Stills, though.
Yeah, who was it?
Great musician.
Anyway, let me see. I'm going to find it here, because now it's messing with me. I mentioned it. But, was that song, man? And it just, I guess that kind of was like a little bit of inspiration for it.
Right.
And then the whole accordion thing was really, just again, from that part of the country.
Yeah.
Down in South Texas. So that was Josh Baca that played accordion. He's from a band called the Los Tex Maniacs.
And you were in that band for a while, right?
Yes, I played with them for a while. Every once in a while, I still do, here and there, when the opportunities arise.
Sure.
But the Los Tex Maniacs. So Josh played accordion on that. And that song is pretty much, it's about, like I said, that life and smuggling.
Do you do that live? Because that seems like a great song to do live.
We do I do that live sometimes.
Yeah, it's a cool track. And you have another cool track on that I like called Red Ant. It's like an old school blues / R&B song. It's like an A minor. You got your wah-wah pedal cooking on there, man. And it reminded me a lot of the songs in the mid to late 70s, the R&B songs where the guy would start off talking with, like Barry White he'd start off talking, you know me, baby. Stuff like that. Because you're kind of doing stuff like that. In the beginning, it was pretty cool. In the intros, that was not an uncommon thing back then. It was like, you'd hear that you'd hear it on AM radio, right? Wherever you went. When it was everything was commingled. But what is that song about, and where does the title Red Ant come from?
Well, Red Ant is some species of ants that you find down in Texas.
We got them here too, bro. Oh my!
Got them, down in Florida too.
I'm allergic to those things.
Down south, them red ants, man, right?
Yeah, they're terrible, man. They tear you up,
man.
And they don't attack you until there's like 1,000 of them. And you don't know it. You step in it or you sit in one.
Yeah, they're working. Yeah, and then that's when they start working you, baby.
Yeah.
You already know, right?
Yeah. Oh,
so
terrible.
Man, that song came from, I had this girlfriend one time, and we were in New Mexico. We were in Taos, New Mexico. And a friend of mine had made some mushroom tea, so we had drank this mushroom tea, and it was in the wintertime. and it started snowing. And she was standing out on this mesa, and the sun was going down, and it was snowing at the same time. But at that time, that old mushroom tea started
tripping on mushroom tea.
Yeah, and she started looking like a red ant. She had that shape, like that. Like that, like the red ant. Dude, and she started looking like a red ant. Craig, man, I said, oh, man. I can't forget this. I can't forget this.
And that's where the song came from.
And it started like that. Say, I'll give you $50.
Yeah.
So you can go and get you a pedicure.
That's so
like
funny.
What that lady be doing to your feet.
Yeah. That's great, man. That is awesome. Sipping on mushroom tea.
Oh, man. Just, life, right? Just living, like, songs about my life and living my life. Things that I see and, some things that I do. And hopefully, other people identify with those too. Somebody might say, well, I did that one time, but my girlfriend started looking like a deer.
Yeah.
Right. An alligator. She started flying.
Right.
I don't know,
That's funny, man, how the genesis of that song.
But we got to find Treetop Flyer, though, because that's really, really bothering me.
Okay, we'll find it. Tell me about the new record, Too Much Blues. I'm going to look up Treetop Flyer while you're answering that.
Too Much Blues. Too Much Blues came about.
You're right. Stephen Stills.
Okay, I was right?
Yes. Okay. Yes, sir.
Good. I said, I don't want to, I hate to lead people. I don't mind being wrong myself, but I don't want to lead nobody else down the wrong path.
It's all good, man.
Yeah, that bothers me. It's like, oh, he's wrong. I don't want to I don't want to tell you no wrong stuff. Like one of those preachers there. I don't want to tell you nothing wrong.
But
too much too much blues.
There you go.
Oh man, Too Much Blues. That came about again. One of those. I knew that we needed to put some new stuff out. It was about that time because the last time was Black Maria, 2018.
And then you were getting ready to go tour probably, and you toured a little bit, and then pandemic come.
Mm-hmm. And then pandemic, we did we recorded 4 tunes that really we just released them on
like singles, right?
Those are singles. Yeah, you can see those on the website.
Yep. Well, they're I think Hard tunes. Climb.
Yeah, Hard Climb.
Passionate
Right. Passionate
right.
Puto.
Yeah, Passionate Puto. The Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So we released those just on the website. So I knew we needed something. And I had been writing stuff. My drummer, OC, he came by. This was kind of like when the pandemic was kind of easing up, but still we weren't gigging that much. So he came by. He has one of those Akai MPC beat machines.
Okay.
We can do all kinds of stuff with it. So, he's coming by with beats and putting songs. I'm like, hold on, wait a minute. So I started arranging stuff, a couple of songs off of that. And it just kind of kept going from there. And we did a show at a place called the Music Room in Yarmouth, Mass. It was down on Cape Cod. That Paul Nelson is involved in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know.
And we were down there. We did a show, and Paul was there. I was like, "Hey, man, what you think about working with us?" He said, "I already decided after the 3rd song." Cool, right? Cool, no problem. So both of us being busy, just trying to find that time to get together. I go, he calls me up. He says, "Hey, man, you ready to do something?" Like, yeah, okay. So I go by the studio and at the music room, because the place is a stage, but it's also studios back behind the stage. So cut everything to a click track. Laid all the songs down. It's cool, like them, blah, blah, blah. Worked them up. So now Too Much Blues is born.
There you go.
Produced by Paul Nelson and Brooks Milgate on the keyboards, who's most recently he was playing with Anna Popovic.
Okay.
Dave Johnson, he's playing with the bass player with the Neville Brothers right now, and Justin Blackburn, a kid from up this way on the East Coast, up here by Connecticut. He plays with a group called 8 to the Bar.
Okay.
So that's him. And then special guest on there was Jerry Portnoy.
Oh, harp player.
Yeah.
I saw him in a bar in Tampa in 1984 or something like that. Something, ages ago. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, he's right. He's right down the street. He lives on the Cape. He's right down the street from there. And then Paul Nelson was kind enough to lay a little Johnny Winter style slide guitar on there. Man, it's just smoking it up.
Yeah.
And our engineer Mike McCabe, he is also a multi-instrumentalist, so he played some steel guitar on the track. And my horn players are Eric Lawrence from he's playing now with Little Feat. He's a horn player with Little Feat. So.
Who?
But,
on the title track? I'm sorry, go ahead. I apologize.
No, the title track?
Yeah. What guitar was playing? What guitar were you using to play the lead fills on there? Because it sounded really good.
That was my Strat.
It sounded great, man.
That was my Strat on that one.
And what were you playing through?
Playing through. What did we use on that one? That went through the little Blues Deluxe.
A Fender Blues Deluxe.
Yep, Fender Blues Deluxe. Yep. When we hit the mic front, mic back, and mic room. So it's like 3 mics.
Yeah, it sounded great. And you got a song on there called "I Want to Be Loved." And at first, there's an old song Jimmy Reed covered called "I Want to Be Loved," but it was not the same song. Yours is totally different.
No, this one's it's actually the Willie Dixon tune that Muddy Waters did.
The arrangement on there was great.
Yeah, we funked it up a little bit, and we started thinking about the Quincy Jones arrangement that he did for Sanford and Son.
Quincy arranged that, the title track.
Yeah, that's Quincy Jones.
I love that song.
with the Fender Rose. Yeah, man. Yeah, dude. Yeah,
that's a great song.
Like, no, man, let's do that Fred Sanford. Do that Fred Sanford on this, bro.
G stands for gold mine.
Yeah, man.
What guitar did you play on that track? It sounded good as well.
I played the 330 on that one.
330, yeah, it sounded really good.
Yeah, that was a 330 on that one.
Awesome, man. And you're going to be touring for the record, hopefully coming up?
Man, I certainly hope so.
Good.
I certainly hope so. It would be nice to go out there and hit it for about maybe 3 or 4 weeks and then come on back. Yeah. Just because of my disability, sometimes won't afford me to be out there like that. For 3 months or something like that. But if I can get out there and do some good hit 'em and quit 'ems, good 4, maybe 1 month runs, pretty good, 1 or 2 months, no more than a couple of months though.
What is that? Something injury from the service?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Willie, tell me your top 3 desert island discs, just for this moment, because of course that
Top
changes.
3
all the time.
desert island discs while I was training on desert island.
Yeah.
Man, I would have to say right now, at this very moment, Mance Lipscomb.
What is it?
Mance Lipscomb.
Okay. What is that? I've never heard of him.
Check him out.
What does he play?
He's a guitar player.
Mantz.
M-A-N-C-E.
Oh, Mance. Okay. Mance.
And
Never
Lipscomb. Lipscomb. Lipscomb.
Man, that's a first. I've never heard his name mentioned ever. That's pretty cool. I've got something to follow up now.
Yeah, Craig.
All right. What would be number 2?
Listening to him. Clifton Chenier.
Louisiana cat.
Probably George Jones until I decide to shoot myself in the head from listening to it too much. I'm stranded on a desert island.
Wow, this is a real diverse. Is this all the stuff that you kind of got exposed to growing up in South Texas?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, this is very.
Besides all, the blues and the rhythm and blues and the soul and the funk. Besides that, this is all beside.
Yeah.
Because all the rhythm, blues, soul, funk, that was all my root. That was all, the gospel. That's all the root.
Were your parents cool with you listening to that music?
Man, yeah.
Okay, cool. No, because sometimes you hear like parents that they were strict or they were in the church and they were like,
my mom and dad pretty much listening to everything.
Yeah,
too.
That's cool.
All the people around us listen to everything.
Yeah.
There was a pool hall across the street from the house. A man named Mr. Jimmy owned it, and he had a jukebox. Mr. Jimmy had everything on that jukebox, dude. Everything and everybody. Everything you heard on the AM radio, that was on Mr. Jimmy's jukebox.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So, and especially when the conjunto music would play, man, the Spanish music would play. Es un borracho más no bueno que no caigo. And they throw a grito. And my dad would go, God damn it, turn that shit down.
That's funny.
Oh, man, my old man was something else, dude.
What's the most important thing you learned from him?
From my dad?
Yeah, from your dad.
Work ethic, and if you're right and you know you're right, 100% stand up. Stand up for what you know is right. When you know you're right, don't back down.
How about from your mom? What's the most important thing you learned from her?
Kindness. But I guess go into every situation with my eyes wide open. Always being aware of where I'm at, what's going on in my life, and trying to be grateful and thankful for it. Yeah.
It's nice. Thank you, man. What's the most... Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best, most important thing that I learned from her.
Just going to everything with your eyes wide open.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And learning how to read. She was always making us read. She was reading, always reading. So,
what's the most
learning how to read? Very important.
Oh, hell yeah. What's the most important lessons you've learned from getting older? And I think you're like a year older than me, which I'm really grateful for, because most people come on, they're not older than me.
Yeah, I feel you, dude. Right?
You go through this whole period of your life.
How do you talk to them? You know, it's like
you're the young guy.
Remember Def Leppard? It's
right?
Like, oh man, it's like, wow, dude. Oh,
I know.
Okay. Who? Wait, ask me that question again, Craig. I'm sorry.
No, it's cool. I said, what's the most important lessons you've learned from getting older?
Man, I'm still learning.
Tell me one of them.
Still learning them. How to be patient and a lot more patience.
Yeah.
You know, not sweating. Don't sweat on the dumb stuff.
Yeah, that's an important one, man.
I'm not sweating the dumb stuff, man. And I think the number one thing is, I don't know if I can say this, you might bleep this out, but you know, it's very true that the older you get, there are a limited number of fucks that you have left to give.
You know what?
And
that's right.
And you guard those.
Uh-huh.
All those fucks that you have left, you guard them. You hold on to them, and if you have to let them go, you make sure that when you let them go, you're going to take out a whole fucking neighborhood with them. You know?
Yeah, I get you, man.
When you let those go, dude, it's not that one, it's that one bullet, one hole to get you a whole group.
Yeah, I get it.
Shut it down with them, you know?
I get it.
You don't have that many left.
I get you, man.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I totally do.
Yeah, man.
And this is the most variations of those answers that you gave are some of the more common answers that people have to that type of question as you get in, you know, your late 50s and upper above
right.
that.
Right. And especially now, man, after my little brother passed away, I'm really like, you know, at 57.
Yeah, that's terrible, man.
You know, that is, you know, that hits home. That's like, if you don't feel your mortality after that,
you better.
You're not feeling.
No, absolutely.
You're just not feeling.
Well, then the aches and pains you get that you never had, and all of a sudden it's like, what the hell is going on?
Right, right. All of that.
Yeah. It's not easy to get. Getting old is not for the weak.
That's right.
Willie, any hobbies? I'm sorry,
what's
that?
Hobbies? No, I'm going to try to love and embrace every step of it.
Oh, yes. It's a lot easier. Hobbies or interests outside of music?
Oh, man, I love riding horses.
Really?
That's why I can't wait. Shit, I can't wait for it to warm up.
That's awesome, man. That's the first time. That's really cool. How did you get into that?
Boy. I'm a Texas boy.
That's wild, man.
Shit, what? A black man from Texas, a brown man from Texas, especially the part where I come from, ain't got no business not knowing how to ride no horse.
That's awesome, man. So you do that up in Massachusetts?
I ride both ways, too. I ride Western tack and English. So I can ride English.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's what. And I think last time we talked, you like cooking also?
Cooking, man, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, boy. Cooking and, you know, man, if I could really raise my own meat, you know, I do. I grow vegetables and stuff like that. I have a pretty good garden every year.
That's awesome.
But,
fresh vegetables.
I could really like raise my own meat and stuff like that.
Hey, man, you got time? So Willie J Laws 2.0.
Yeah, right. But no, I do. I love cooking.
That's the number one hobby for musicians.
About everything. Just about everything. If, anything, man, I just, something that'll challenge me too, I'll take on a challenge.
What do you like making? What's your favorite thing to make?
A lot of people in the family, they rave about my gumbo.
Oh yeah, man, that's delicious stuff.
Because that recipe I got from my grandmother's sister, my great aunt Celia. Because when I was a kid, I used to watch her make it, and then I would start helping her make it. And so that's pretty much her recipe.
Your gumbo.
I've done like very, very small variations of it over the years, but like super, like very minute changes. But that's pretty much her recipe, and so people in the family and whenever I'm around, they want me to make it. But now my cousin Ivan, I taught my cousin Ivan everything about it, so now he makes it.
Dude, I'm getting hungry.
Last time we were at home, I was like, yeah, dude.
Gumbo's awesome.
Yeah. So the gumbo, that's the main thing. But, that barbecue, because I'm, like I said, that Texas thing.
Yeah. I
grew up, around people barbecuing. My dad, my grandfathers, my uncles, my, older cousins, everybody barbecuing. And they're, pretty much barbecuing the same way that the old folks did it. Just
God,
picking it up from them. Yeah.
Toughest decision you ever had to make, or most difficult thing you had to do?
Leaving my children. Leaving my kids, man. Every time I hit the road, every time I'm out there chasing that dream, leaving them,
that's a tough
that they, need me. I'm not there every day with them. So that's tough, and it's still tough. That's going to be tough for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Thank you, man. Opposite end, what's the most fun thing you've ever done? Sound like that Philip Walker gig might be the...
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I have to say, playing in Russia at about 3:30 in the morning, but it looked like it was daylight.
Because it was a gig 3:30 a.m.
Yeah, dude, it was that part of the world so far north where it looked like the sun just shining damn near all day. It don't never really get dark.
Wow, dude, how cold was it there? It must be freezing there too, no?
Well, it was probably about maybe 50-something degrees. It was all right. It was bearable. And we were on the stage. We were doing a sound, just a huge stage. We were doing the sound check, and it was just like the people, in the tent, man, doing the sound over there from the tent, and there was just like this babushka looking Russian lady. She was the only one there, dude. She had one of those trash scoopers, and she's picking up trash.
Oh wow!
Like grooving.
This is at a festival? This is at a festival.
It was a festival, yeah, but no one was there yet. The gates weren't open yet. We were just doing the sound check.
Wow.
But the gates were going to open in like a couple of hours, so people were going to be there at like 5:30, 6 in the morning, because it never gets dark. And so watching this lady, and it was kind of misting and watching this lady, man, just grooving off this black shit from America. It's like, I know she didn't understand what the hell we were talking about or singing about, but she was like grooving,
she was feeling it,
picking up her little trash, with a little Russian scarf on and the little sweater and the babushka skirt, Wow, man, that was a blast, man. I was just like,
strange. It's kind of like a frozen point in time. That's kind of weird, right?
For me, from like Taft, Texas, a little town of 3,000 people, to end up in like Russia.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
That's pretty awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Yeah, and not only once but 3 times.
Yeah.
So,
that's a good story, man.
Yeah, I've had some good highlights, Craig.
Yeah, man, you've had a lot of highlights.
Good ones, man.
Tell me, 2 more questions. Biggest change in your personality over the last 10 years, and has that been intentional, or is that just any changes come from a natural path of aging?
Mellowed out a lot more.
Is that intentional or aging or both?
I think it's both.
Yeah.
It's both. For sure, it's both. Just seems like it's that natural process, right?
Yeah. Well, you just come to a
that-
point you realize,
that's it.
why am I getting excited? I'm losing.
Right?
You know, you get pissed off or angry, and you're like, man, I'm feeling worse now than I don't even care how this guy or this. If you just start thinking about yourself a little more, man.
You know, I've forgotten more shit than most people will ever remember in 2 lifetimes.
Which is probably a good thing.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah. It's that, just learning that whole chill thing. Just chilling. You know?
Taking a breath, yeah.
Yeah, taking a breath and being present.
Yeah.
And like being like present in that moment where you are right now.
Yeah.
Where are you right now?
I agree with
What's
you on that.
around you right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last question, what's the thing in your life, Willie, that's making you happiest or giving you the most joy right now?
My wife,
Right on.
my kids, my health,
Yeah, that's important.
you know, being able to do what I do, to do what I love, you know, and to be able to do it free, to be free and say what I want to say, you know, and play what I want to play and do what I want to do.
Right on, man. Let me tell people,
Great.
thank you for everything, man. Let me just tell people where to find you. And you can find Willie online at Willie J Laws, LAWS band.com, Willie J Laws Band. I think he will be doing some touring in the summertime, and you can find tour dates on his website as well.
Website and bands in town or band camp.
That's a pretty good thing, that Bands in Town. They give you a good heads
Yeah.
up. Yeah, I like that.
We're using that. We're doing bands in town and all that. So, mostly though, we're up here on the East Coast.
Do you play around Massachusetts a lot?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All over Mass and Connecticut, Rhode Island.
Is Toad's
New
Place
Hampshire.
still around?
What's that?
Toad's Place in Connecticut.
Yeah, Toads. We got a gig coming up at Toads.
Do you really? I went there a couple of times when I was a kid.
Yeah, we got a gig coming up at Toads.
That's so funny.
I think sometime this month.
That's awesome, man. And also, you can find Willie on Facebook and Instagram. Oh, you're on there as Willie J Laws on Facebook and Instagram? Okay. Also, his daughter is a popular influencer. Her name is Amber Johnson, and check out her website at Everyday Our Way, especially if you have kids, younger kids, because you might be able to get something good out of that.
For sure you will.
Anything else, man? Anything else I could promote, or where could people, I mean, when you have any tours booked? You said you got Toad's Place. You have any stuff booked now?
No, we're just mostly around here at home for right now until the record comes out.
When is the drop date?
We're looking at probably the end of April.
Okay, cool.
As a matter of fact, while we were talking, Joe, who is mastering it, he just was calling while we were talking.
Oh, that's great, man.
So, yeah.
And if you're in the New England area, Massachusetts, Connecticut, New Hampshire, just go to Willie's website, Willie J Laws Band, because he's gigging out there all the time.
Us.
And anything else, man? Any final words of wisdom?
Much love to every one of y'all.
Right on, man.
Try to take care of each other the best you can. And I already can see how you're living. I just want to know how you're living.
There you go, man.
Are you going to love before you die?
There you go. Good stuff. Well, hang on a minute, Willie. We'll wrap up. Everybody, thank you, and thank you for everything, brother.
Thank you, brother.
Of course, man. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this, share it with your friends. Thanks very much to Willie J Laws Jr. for coming on the show and sharing his story. I would really encourage you to check out his music. He's a great blues artist. Again, my favorite record was Black Maria. The new record's also awesome, but you can start with Black Maria if you don't know what to do. And most important, remember that happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody.